Hi and welcome back to Motorcycle Tourists. My name is Jesse and today we're going to have an in-depth look at the TFT display for the BMW F750 and F850GS. Since they share the same electronics, it's going to be more or less the same thing as on the R1200GS. In this video we will go through every menu and every option and every setting there is in the whole display. So it's a bit of a long video, so sit back, relax and enjoy. The gorgeous 6.5-inch TFT display is bright enough to be readable in every light condition. You navigate through the menus using the wheel on the left handle like so. You can rotate it to go up and down as well as push it inwards and outwards to navigate left and right. There's also this menu button that goes up and down and is used to navigate through different screens. It's fairly intuitive, though it may take you a few tries to figure out when to scroll the wheel and when to use the menu button. Here you can disable the ABS as well as manually control the electronic suspension. You can go between the normal road setting and the thermodynamic setting. Holding the button in for a few seconds will allow you to change the load setting for the suspension. You can switch between solo rider, rider with passenger or rider with luggage, and this is gonna raise and lower the suspension accordingly. The mode button lets you switch between the available drive modes, which will tune everything from the suspension, throttle response, ABS and even the traction control. The road setting is the normal one you would use for a comfortable drive along a regular road. The dynamic setting will firm up the suspension and make the throttle response instantaneous. It's great for sporty driving when you want to carve corners and really feel the potential of the bike. The enduro setting is great if you want to go on gravel roads and skid all over the place like a loony bin. It will firm up the suspension, make the throttle response a bit softer and tune the traction control to let you do deliberate controlled slides. Though I'd suggest you change to some knobby tires if you want to do anything more advanced, like go chase after dirt bikes. The rain setting is the same as the road one, but softens the throttle response so you don't accidentally skid through corners on wet roads. The cruise control can be enabled and disabled simply by sliding this button here. You can push this little flap here to turn it on and set the cruising speed to whatever speed you're driving at. Once it's set, you can push it to increase the speed and pull on it to decrease the speed. Tapping on a brake or the clutch or switching gear will all cancel the cruise control immediately. You can then pull on the flap to turn it back on and resume your cruising, though if you gear down you'll need to manually accelerate to appropriate gear before resuming the cruising. It basically works the same as in any car. It's really great feature for when you're driving for hours on end on highways at a fixed speed. It'll eat up those miles with comfort. At the top of the screen you have this status line that you can toggle through using the menu up button. You can have it show the odometer, remaining fuel range or capacity, trip meter, average fuel consumption, as well as the trip timers such as driving and rest time. You can disable the ones you're not interested in keeping there in the settings menu. Most of the features of the display requires a Bluetooth connection to a mobile phone. To pair your phone with the screen you go to the settings menu, then to connections and then select mobile devices and pair new device. Depending on what phone you have, the pairing procedure on the phone will vary, but once you have it in pairing mode just follow the instructions. You do the same thing for a Bluetooth helmet if you have one. Some features of the display such as verbal instructions in the navigator, media playing and phone conversations will obviously require a Bluetooth helmet. Once it's paired you will see a phone icon down here which indicates a connection. You'll see a battery level of your phone and signal strength. If you have a Bluetooth helmet paired as well, that's a little helmet icon next to it. In the My Vehicles section you get an overview of your motorcycle. It will show you the bike's self-diagnostic result, engine temperature, tire pressure and battery voltage. There's a screen for the onboard computer which shows your journey, brake time, distance driven, average speed and fuel consumption. The same as the status lines earlier but gathered in a single screen. You can reset the whole screen to 0 or individual values. It will also show you the tire pressure. This requires your bike to be running before it updates, which is why it's blank here for me now. But the good thing is that it'll also show you the specification pressure, so you know how far off your pressure currently is. You can also see when the next service should be performed. Here, mine needs to be serviced either after 9,000 kilometers or in a year at the latest, whichever occurs first. In the navigation, you can list your recent destinations and reactivate those, go to a favorite place or a point of interest. You can also change the route criteria. You can choose either the fastest or the shortest route, as well as things to avoid, such as motorways, toll roads, or ferries. The point of interest system can either be used for your current location, at the route destination, or everything along the way from here to there. It uses your mobile phone's data connection to fetch a list of places, so charges may apply. The list consists of petrol stations, places to eat, party, things to see and do, as well as infrastructure, facilities, campings, hotels, or chemists if you need a painkiller, and so on. Most of the stuff you need. It's important to point out that this navigator, while very useful, is a lot more primitive and limited than a fully featured external navigator. I think a lot of people would get by with just this TFT display on its own, but if you plan on making multi-stop routes or traverse deserts or forests outside of the road network, this won't be enough. Now, we made a separate video for the navigator, and if you're interested, I'll link to it at the end of the video. There you can see the turn-by-turn navigation in detail. The media playing supported by the display will require your mobile phone. It will act as an audio relay between your phone and helmet, allowing you to pause and resume playback, skip tracks and so on using the controls directly on the bike. The catalog it shows is based on available tracks on your phone. Since I'm using an iPhone, that's going to be the iTunes library. As you can see, when I play this track, that comes for free with iPhone, it even displays the album art. That's pretty neat. Skipping a track is as easy as nudging the wheel control to the right or nudging it to the left to repeat the previous track. In the audio settings, you can set it to shuffle the playlist as well as to repeat it. Now, the big question is, will it work with streaming services like Spotify, or are you stuck with the purchased and downloaded tracks in iTunes? Spoiler alert, it does indeed work with Spotify. It will even display the album art. How cool is that? You will need to open Spotify on your phone, find your playlist and start it for the playback to work. Once it's playing though, you can pause, resume and skip tracks, but you can't browse the playlist and select something else. For that, you need to stop your bike, dig out your phone and select it manually. So be sure to have a long playlist prepared ahead of time. The phone section does pretty much what you'd expect it to do. You can browse your call list as well as your phone book. Finding contacts to call is fairly easy. When there are many contacts starting with the same letter, it will show an additional level of navigation with the first two letters of the name, so it's easier to skip to where your contact is. For shorter lists, it will just show the first letter of the name. Making and receiving calls is easy. Just nudge the control wheel to the right to dial the contact and the same to answer incoming calls, or nudge the wheel the other way to decline the call. It will even show the picture of a contact if you have one in your phone. Very nice detail. The settings menu contains vehicle settings, system settings, Bluetooth connections, display options and general information. Inside the vehicle settings, you can configure the alarm system if you have it equipped on your motorcycle. It's an option, so not everyone will have it. But if you do, you can change the warning signal between intermittent beeps and rising beeps. You can enable and disable the tilt sensor, arming tone, and even set it to arm automatically whenever you park the bike and walk away. This is one of my personal favorite features. The RDC is for your tire pressure, and you can have it warn you if the tire pressure drops below the minimum allowed pressure. In the light settings, you can set it to automatically turn the daytime lights on and off for you. The system settings is where you change the date and time and select which unit of measurement to use, depending on if you use kilometer or miles, Celsius or Fahrenheit, liters per 100 kilometers or miles per gallon. It's also where you select the display language. Currently it supports German, British, American, Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese and a couple of Cyrillic squigglies I don't know what are and what looks like Japanese. The connection settings we already saw earlier, and in the display settings you can set the brightness of the display. You can also change which items will show up in the status line at the top of the screen that we saw at the beginning of this video. So if you don't use both trip recorders, you can remove it from the item so it's faster to toggle between them. This is also where you turn the speed limit info on and off. It uses the maps in the app on your mobile phone to show a speed limit icon right here. I find that really useful. In the general information you can see 104 pages of license text for all the third-party software bits they stuck in the display, which nobody will ever read. And lastly, you can see which software version is running in the display. You'll need to visit a dealer to have it updated, and I imagine they do it automatically whenever you service the bike. All in all, the TFT display is a pretty big upgrade compared to the analog dials, if it's your thing. If you prefer the analog dials, then obviously this isn't for you. For me personally, I absolutely love it. It's one of the main reasons why I switched from the 700 to the 750GS. So thanks again for watching this video, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on the BMW F750 and F850GSs. See you soon!